Phil Knight didn't plan to build Nike. He took a business class, had an idea about importing Japanese running shoes, and essentially stumbled into building one of the world's most iconic brands. Along the way, he nearly went bankrupt 6 times. Shoe Dog is part memoir, part business masterclass, and honestly, part therapy session where a billionaire admits that success feels nothing like he imagined. It's raw, it's honest, and it's full of lessons that most business books won't teach you, because most business books are written by people who haven't actually built anything at Knight's scale. Here's the reality that Shoe Dog reveals. Starting a company is closer to war than it is to a game plan. You're going to face moments where you genuinely don't know if you're going to survive. And the people who survive are almost never the ones with perfect plans. They're the ones who refuse to quit. Takeaway 1: keep your dreams quiet. Don't announce them to everyone. Don't ask for permission or validation, just do the work. Knight told almost no one about his Nike vision initially. He didn't write business plans or pitch investors, he just imported shoes and built relationships quietly. There's so much noise around the idea of sharing your goals. Life coaches tell you to announce them, to accountability partner with people, to make them public. But telling people about your dreams opens you to skepticism that you'll carry into the work. That doubt doesn't go away, you carry it with you. Knight avoided that entirely by staying silent. So here's your move: pick your main goal and stop telling people about it. Not forever, just until you have something real to show. Work in silence. Let your results do the talking. You'll move faster when you're not constantly defending or explaining your vision to skeptics. Takeaway 2: near-bankruptcy isn't a bug in startups, it's a feature. Knight started with $500 from his father and lived on ramen while shuttling back and forth to Japan. Nike constantly owed suppliers more than it could pay. The bank repeatedly threatened to cut them off. This wasn't temporary. It was years of his life. Knight didn't know if the company would exist next month. Most people quit during this phase, but Knight couldn't emotionally afford to. He kept reinvesting whatever money came in, kept believing that if they just held on, things would turn around. If you're building something real, you're going to be broke for a while. You'll feel the pressure. You'll question everything. That's not a sign you're failing, it's a sign you're doing it right. The barrier to entry for anything worth building is sustained discomfort. Ask yourself honestly, can you handle not knowing where money comes from? Can you commit to your work for a year or 2 without payment? If yes, start knowing struggle is normal. If no, that's okay, just don't start. Takeaway 3: the company was built on relationships, not on product. This is crucial and often gets missed. Nike didn't succeed because they made the best shoes. They succeeded because Knight formed genuine partnerships. He built trust with Onitsuka, the Japanese shoe manufacturer, and when they eventually cut him off, Knight didn't collapse. He built another relationship with Nissho Iwai. That relationship held because Knight was a man of his word. When he committed to something, he committed completely. In business, we're often taught to focus on the product. Make the best product and the business will follow. But that's not really how it works. The business follows from relationships. It follows from being someone people want to work with. It follows from trust. Knight had no capital, no experience, no credentials. What he had was the ability to make people believe in him. Think about your business or your career. Who are the key people you need on your side? Not to manipulate them, but to genuinely partner with them. What would it look like to be so reliable, so committed, so authentic that they'd follow you anywhere? Start there. Takeaway 4: belief is more powerful than evidence. Knight couldn't explain why Nike would succeed. He couldn't point to market research or consumer data. He just had a gut feeling that the future belonged to running shoes. He had a vision of what could be, and he bet his entire life on something he couldn't rationally prove. This is the scariest part of building something. You don't have certainty. You have faith. You're walking into the unknown and hoping you're not crazy. Most people can't do that. Most people need evidence. They need proof. They need to see how others did it before they try it themselves. Knight didn't have that luxury. He was creating something that didn't really exist yet. He was building a market for running shoes when running wasn't even a popular activity. He was essentially betting that the world would change in a direction that made his product valuable. And he was right. But he didn't know he was right. He just had to believe hard enough to keep going. Your challenge is to examine what you believe about your future that you can't prove yet. What's the thing you believe will happen even though all the evidence suggests you might be wrong? That might be the thing worth building toward. Takeaway 5. Hiring is everything. The founding team determines whether the company succeeds or fails. Knight talks extensively about the people he brought in: Bowerman, his former coach, and Strasser, his first key employee who became a crucial strategic thinker. Each of them was chosen not just for their skills, but for who they were. Most people hire for the resume and current needs. Knight hired for the person who could grow into what the company needed them to be. He knew he didn't have all the answers and needed people smarter than him in specific areas. So he hired for excellence and for character. Think about companies that are struggling. Often it's not because they have a bad product. It's because they have the wrong people. When building your team, slow down and hire right. Find people you want to work with, people committed to something bigger than themselves, people who share your values. Takeaway 6. Courage looks like recklessness from the outside. The difference is knowing when to double down. Knight could have stayed small with his import business, kept it as a side hustle. Instead, he went all in. He quit his job. He committed completely. There were also moments where he had to know when to fight and when to back down. When the bank threatened to cut him off, he didn't panic. He negotiated. When suppliers were unreliable, he found new ones. He was aggressive but not reckless. He was committed but not stubborn. From the outside, these decisions look insane. You're not making the safe choice. You're not following the conventional path. You're risking everything on something most people think won't work. How do you know the difference between courage and recklessness? Knight's answer, indirectly, is that you trust your research and your gut together. Study the market, understand your competition, know your numbers, but then you make a decision based on belief. When facing a moment to play it safe or go all in, ask, have I done my homework? Do I understand the risk? Do I genuinely believe in this? If yes to all three, go all in. If not, wait. Takeaway 7. The bank is not your friend. This might be the most practical lesson in the book. Knight survived by constantly being in debt. Every time Knight thought he'd lose everything, he'd call the bank, negotiate, extend the terms, and keep going. The bank wants you dependent on them. They want monthly payments, interest, and you perpetually needing more money. Knight learned to use the bank without being used by it. He understood he had leverage. If Knight failed, the bank got nothing. As long as he showed progress, the bank had incentive to keep him alive. This is different from suppliers or employees who benefit from your success. Banks only benefit from your dependence. You're not looking for a bank that loves you. You're looking for a deal that works short-term while you build something that doesn't need them. Understand your numbers, know your runway, negotiate from a position of options, and always work toward independence. Takeaway 8. The Waffle Iron moment is real. Bowerman, Nike's co-founder, became obsessed with shoe design. He'd study feet, think about angles and support and lightness. And one day, he had an idea for a shoe sole based on waffle iron patterns. That obsession, that attention to detail, became core to Nike's competitive advantage. Innovation doesn't come from meetings or brainstorming sessions. It comes from obsession. Someone cares so much about solving a problem that they can't stop thinking about it. They tinker, they fail, they try again. This is why hiring matters so much. You need people in your company who are obsessed with their craft. You need designers who can't stop thinking about design. You need engineers who can't stop thinking about engineering. Their obsession becomes your competitive advantage, but you have to protect that obsession. You have to give people space to tinker and experiment and fail. You have to value the person who is thinking about problems even when they're not being paid to think about them. So in your work, whatever it is, cultivate obsession. What problem could you think about all day? Find that. Lean into that. Takeaway 9. Most people quit right before the breakthrough. Knight emphasizes this throughout the book. There were so many moments where he could have stopped, times when it would have been rational to give up. But he didn't. He kept going. Then the breakthrough came. There's a pattern to startups and meaningful work. You start with enthusiasm, then hit reality, then hit struggle. Most people quit during the struggle phase. They think they've chosen wrong or the market doesn't want their product. Sometimes that's true. But often, if you just kept going a little longer, everything would have shifted. Knight knew this on a cellular level. He'd survived so many near-death moments that he developed faith in persistence. Not blind faith, but faith based on evidence. Every time he wanted to quit, he'd remember the last time he almost quit and remember how things turned out. What are you close to quitting on? What would happen if you kept going one more month or quarter? Are you one decision away from breakthrough? Takeaway 10. Success doesn't feel the way you imagined. This is Knight's final and most honest reflection. He built Nike, made billions, changed the world, and it doesn't feel like what he thought it would. There's no moment where you arrive, no finish line. You're always thinking about the next quarter, the next product, the next market. The pressure doesn't go away, it just changes shape. Achievement doesn't fix the fundamental anxieties that drove you. So many people work toward success thinking it'll feel amazing. They think once they make the money, build the company, reach the goal, everything will change. They'll finally feel secure and worthy. Knight knows better. Success is a process, not a destination. The feeling doesn't come from reaching a goal. It comes from working towards something meaningful, building with people you care about, and growth. So what does that mean for you? Focus on the process, not the outcome. Find work that matters to you, not work that makes you rich. Build with people you genuinely want around you. And when you inevitably reach your goal, you'll discover what Knight discovered. The goal was never the point. The journey was the point. That's the real lesson. That's worth knowing before you start.